Morning. Today, well not today, the other day, it arrived in the post. I've unboxed it. Saw in the little intro which other side it's on. I don't know where. I haven't decided where I'm putting this yet. But ordered a new camera. I'll discuss why in a minute because I think it's always good to I don't have to justify why I do things, but if I'm going to be talking, as I've stated before, my opinion of it's not about the kit, it's about what it allows you to do. Can you do it other ways? Is there other things? You know, it's about your creativity, not the kit, but by doing that, I should explain why I've done something. The Canon RP. USR. And it's got the 50mm lens on it at the moment, but we're not talking about that, we're mainly talking about the body. But the body is 50% useless unless you have a lens on it. I did get the adapter as well at the same time, but we'll cover that in another video. And that's just so I don't have to waste my glass. I haven't actually gone out shooting with this yet, but by the end of this video, hopefully, you would have got some footage, or I would have got some footage to show you from the RP. So, this is my first ever full frame camera. I always debate on getting the 6 or the 5D, whichever mark, at some point, but I keep shooting sports or active lifestyle things which needed more FPS, more length and range, so having a crop sensor camera and getting that extra length on each lens while still maintaining a reasonable quality was the bigger priority. So the 7D's been the dog's body for that. So just sort of side by side, you can already see it's like another couple of inches tall. I can hide the RP with the 7D. I mean, even ignoring the lens, like if I do that, you can sort of see the difference side on. Even when you look at it that way round, it's tiny in comparison to it. But then again, the whole point of mirrorless is it takes out half the spacing and requirements for what's in here, ergo the mirror that's up in this chamber up here, which I do miss for just when you're spotting a scene or an environment and you just want to, don't want to waste the battery because you're on a long hike or a long walk or it's a long day shooting, and you just want to throw it up to your, and I can still see what I'm shooting. I get the composition and things a bit better, which you now can't do with the mirrorless. So there's a trade-off, which you can't do with the mirrorless. There's the trade-off there, but this weighs half. I'd say even less. I don't know the exact measurements. It does say on the box somewhere how much it weighs, but this weighs nothing in comparison to this. And again, it's got quite a heavy lens on it in comparison. But I think even if I took this lens off and chucked it on this body, it would be, the weight would still be there, not here, where this is like 50-50. I could probably balance that by itself. As I haven't shot on this yet, but we're going to go in the next couple of days or two and get some clips to hopefully share with you. If I'm up near Crystal Palace, I'll probably go out and shoot some sports, maybe get some sports portraits with it. A nice articulate screen, which if you're a stills photographer probably doesn't really mean too much to you. Videographers, it probably helps if you're shooting at different angles and things and you're wanting to watch, or like I'm doing now with the M50, recording yourself. It's cleaner setup in terms of control dials and things. The on and off is now a dial, not a switch, which give or take if you like that sort of thing. You've got your control dials that mirror the general setup, and there's not really many other ways I think you could do that in terms of having other settings. I like that it's got your shutter or aperture, and then your shutter or aperture depending on what you set it to, and as well you can control the lens. In some of the lenses, I don't think it's this one, but you can set the lens to different things, so you can give it a command ring. I read through the menu or the manual for this, so I don't know exactly what it does. I prefer to go and play and then talk about what I use, because there's no, I'm not interested in elements about it that I don't use. So I don't tend to shoot in too low light conditions, or you know, uber dark, like in caves and things. So its ISO range is only as relevant to me as it's only as relevant to me as the environments I end up shooting in. The reason I got this is I wanted to future-proof myself a little bit, in terms of, I'm pretty sure the market is going mirrorless across the board, the same way, you know, digital is still around. I still think there will be DSLRs and DSLR shooters for many moons to come, but the way that the consumer market and the outlay of how photography is going, mirrorless is very obviously the way. It's been going this way for ages. The first few attempts by Canon and Nikon and all that with the JZ or something series ages and ages and ages ago now was not laughable, but just poor. But I think since other competitors have got involved, like Lumix and Sony has shot miles ahead, and Olympus, Fuji, yeah, since they've all sort of pushed their markets in that regard, it's now come on leaps and bounds to the point where it's not going away, it's not going to change. This makes so much more sense. You know, if you think that strapped to your back for the day, weighing 4 or 5 kilograms, however much it weighs now, and this that doesn't weigh a thing. I mean, it does weigh a thing, it's got weight to it, it's a physical object, but it's nothing in comparison. So the main reason, future-proof myself, so I can still shoot when eventually DSLRs become the background sort of photography. A bit how like film is still around and lots of professionals use it and it's still a marketable thing, but for a mainstream audience, from a consumer audience, and for just logic of use, this makes a lot more sense than it used to. Also, I'm thinking of going into a bit more portraiture, like deliberately shooting people, you know, a set design for thms. So the crop sensor still does the job. It will still take portraits. There's nothing, you know, there's nothing physically unable about me chucking on a 50mm, 24mm, f whatever. That's not rude. That just means f stops. But yeah, whatever you want to put on it, it will still do it. But the benefits of having a crop sensor is, as I said, for the extra length, the ease of use of it, it's cheaper. It gives you that extra range in shooting sports. Portraits and things like that in events, I think full frame makes more sense because you want to get more detail, you want to get the absolute benefit of having an f1.8, which both will have. I put a 1.8 on the 7D and I put 1.8 on this. You'll both still get that nice blurry background and depth of field, because most of the aspect that comes from depth of field comes from the lens and the aperture that's in it. However, a level of it also comes from the range of your subject. So this is at f5.6, and if my background was an extra foot or two away, it would be even less focused than it is now. Like, you wouldn't see that group of people, you would just see a blur of blues and greens and greys. The light, I need to sort out my lighting setup, this is terrible. I'm just using a window, so whenever the sun moves or goes behind a cloud or anything like that, this dramatically changes. But this is what we're going with, this is what we're running with. We'll sort this out another day, got plenty of time. Yeah. The other aspect also applies from how far the blades are to the size of the sensor. So you've got more information on a full frame than you do on an APS-C. APS-C, small amount of information, full frame, bigger, medium format, bigger, 10x8, full frame, not full frame, large format, all the detail, much depth of field, virtually no range in, no range in the face. You'd get like that much depth of field on the eyes with like an f1.8 or equivalent, because the scales and numbering changes at that level. But yeah, wanted to do more portraits, wanted to future-proof myself, Why did I go for the RP and not the 5 or 6 or the R? That bit, again, always financial decisions. Did I want to go and pay more? Like, I'm still shooting sports, that's my main focus. Sports is my main thing. I want to do a few more portraits and look at that realm of things. Was it worth the extra amount to future-proof, full frame and that for the 5 or 6? I didn't think it was in my realm of shooting and my own thoughts. You might shoot sports and think, you know, oh no, I need full frame, I don't really need that many shutters, I'm quite good at timing things, and that's you. I'm quite good at timing now with set sports I'm used to shooting, like skateboarding and gym sports sort of thing, but I'd still rather have those moments either side just to make sure I've got what I came for, not what I think I've got. I think that's enough talking about why. I think we should go test this out and actually feed back to you on how this actually shoots and works in the field. I'm going to keep with the 50mm because, again, I want to practice portraits and things. I've not got any models lined up for this, so I think it'll just be landscape shooting with the 50mm and the RP. Yeah, see how it works. Well, that's a 10-20 minute play with the camera. I haven't had a full in-depth and I haven't read up on everything I need to know about it yet. I'm a bit confused as to why I can't use a switch to go between autofocus and manual focus on the lens or on the camera. I have to go through the menu, find it and then turn it off. So I'm going to go see if I can work out how to sort that. So yeah, I think I've just worked out how to do it. You go into the menus on the back, don't know if you can see, and you go to lens electronic focus, tell it which one you want to do, then when you half press the shutter it also focuses, and then you manually adjust, which I think is a bit weird as a setting. You also need to make sure you've got focus set on the side dial, not controls, because that will then turn that into like an aperture or shutter speed, or depending on what you want it set to. Control. I think that's a bit odd, but hey ho, it's just a new way to get focused, different from DSLRs. The whole thing's a bit new, and well, not new, mirrorless has been around for a while, we talked about that. For a 20-minute run round with the camera, taking a few very basic stills, I don't think it's done too badly. I quite like it. I've only got the 50 for it, I'll put the adapter on and see how the others work with it, and I'll get back to you. So I'm going to leave the RP video there for a bit. I'm not a big fan of doing part 1s and part 2s. I just think it breaks up the narrative, but I'm still learning this camera a little bit more, and for what I've got planned coming up in August, I'll get more interesting shots, more details, more time to really play with this and give that information back to you. But my thoughts so far, it's a very lightweight, sturdy camera, very nice. with a 50mm lens on the front. It produces really nice work in terms of the image output. It's really clear, really crisp, really sharp. A lot of the images I'm using for, or taking with this, are going to be in my end of year sort of 365-day challenge video, which, spoilers ahead, I'm doing 365 days. I think I've mentioned it already, but that's going to be at the end, is what I'm using this on. I do really like the multi-dial, so one dial can do your shutter, one can do your aperture. Mid-function allows you to bring up like your ISOs, but it also allows you to change that to what sort of not frame rate, you know, if you want burst shutter, if you want one shot, etc. It's a nice way to multi-function things. I don't like the fact that you have to go through the menu controls for some of the options and resetting some things, but that is what it is. I've not used the lock mechanism yet on it, so the lock switch there isn't a function that I've particularly used. I've also not been using, for videos yet, I haven't really been making anything that benefits from having the headphones. I've used the microphone slot. I do need to get a better microphone for it, but it is at least one. I think I want to do some time lapses or some long shots later, so I might get a switch, but it's nice to have all these. It's a bit like the 7D where it's got all the extra things on the side. It's quite nice. The battery drains reasonably quickly. I think that's because it's mirrorless, so the energy is always going through the sensor. It's obviously a better performing camera than the 7. Well, not better performing camera. It's got a bigger sensor, so it's using more electricity to power the whole sensor. It's got a bigger processor and things like that, so it's taking more in that regard. Overall, it's quite a nice camera. But we'll go a bit more deeper into it in August when I go to Nuki and I get to shoot a few other things along with this. And I think in that video as well we'll go over the adapter. I think that makes a bit more sense, as we've sort of talked about the lens a lot on this. I can then add the adapter on and see how that works and how it keeps up and talks to both old lenses and new. Yeah? Alright, well, thank you for watching. Leave comments, I guess. Yeah. If you're enjoying what I'm making and have seen some of my other videos, like my skateboarding ones and things, leave a comment on those as well if you like, and I'll catch you soon. Hope you're having a nice day. Stay safe. Cheery bye.